Hello, my name is Reagan, and welcome to my May wrap-up. So, as normal, we'll be going through all the books I read in May. Now, let's first go through some stats that I put together about my May reading month. I read 7 books in May. 5 of those books were romance. 1 of those books was a memoir, and the other one of those books was a fantasy/thriller. I listened to 6 audiobooks, and I read 1 book both through audio and physical versions. If you'd like to stay updated on what I'm reading, you can check my Goodreads down below, and let's just get started. The first book I read in May was Ace of Spades by Jordana. I definitely pronounced that wrong, and I am so sorry. This book was so good. Oh my god, let me tell you. It was 5-star. It was a 5-star read for me this month. I would say it's a contemporary thriller fantasy vibe. It was a lot. It follows 2 students, Devon Richards and Chiamaka Adebayo, and they attend Nivea's private academy. The book starts out with them getting elected as the senior class prefects, and then soon after, an anonymous messenger, Ace, sends out texts that are basically ruining the lives of Devon and Chiamaka. It's very much like Gossip Girl, but heavily based in racism versus like petty blackmailing, I guess. This book deals with a lot of trigger warnings. It focuses a lot on racism and classism, and it's just a really powerful book, but in like a really interesting story, and it kind of left me like sick at the end. Like I felt sick after reading this, and the audiobook was so good. It had 2 narrators for each perspective, and it did switch perspectives. I'd also like to add that Devon, he's experiencing a lot of homophobia at his school and in his household, and so if that might trigger you, I would watch that in this book, and the cover is super cool. Definitely recommend. The next book I read in May was the one memoir that I read, which was Educated by Tara Westover. I don't normally read memoirs, and I don't normally rate memoirs, just because I don't feel it's fair to rate someone's personal story, but this, the writing, the story, the lessons I learned, 5 stars. 5 stars. It was so good. I still think about this book like to this day. Obviously, this book follows Tara Westover. She was born into a family of survivalists in Ohio in the mountains. All I'm gonna say is that this book was about her journey in education, as you can see by the title, and her struggles with receiving an education because of the family she was born into. It talks heavily about Mormonism, and it just tells the story of Tara becoming this amazing writer and like successful person, even though she wasn't really given the chances or like a fair shot at becoming a successful person just because of her family and how she was raised. I feel like my explanation did not give this book justice. I just can't even explain to you how much this book just blew my mind. Yes, definitely recommend. The next book I read in May was The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. I rated this 5 stars. Helen Huang writes a lot of books featuring main characters on the autism spectrum, and I really like that about her books. I feel like I haven't really read a lot of books with main characters that are on this autism spectrum. It's very different from any other romance book that I've ever read. The Heart Principle by Helen Huang is about Anna's son, who is a violinist who recently went viral for a video that was posted of her playing the violin, and this puts her under a lot of pressure. So she's having trouble like playing again because of she just is trying to live up to the standards that the world and the internet has set for her. And the other main character is Quan Deep, D-I-E-P. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. His vibe is he's a motorcycle gym rat dude with tattoos. He also runs a clothing brand with, I believe, his cousin, which I really liked that aspect of the book. It was really fun. And I liked how passionate he was about like kids in his clothing brand. I thought that was so interesting. I liked how he wasn't just like a motorcycle brand. He had like depth to him, which I really liked, and he was so sweet throughout the whole book. Like you never caught him being rude. He was just so accepting of Anna and really patient with her, and I really enjoyed that. And this book deals with a lot of family burdens on Anna. I really liked seeing how Anna grew out of like the pressure of her family and how she stood up for herself and learned through Quan to advocate for her needs. It was a really good book. I really liked it. The 4th book I read in May was also by Helen Huang, and it was The Bride Test. I rated this 4 stars, so not as high as Helen Huang's other book, The Heart Principle, that I just talked about, but it was still a very good book and I would still recommend reading it. The Bride Test is about Kai Deep, or Deep, Kwan's brother, who has autism. So this book I thought was kind of really funny. It's not something I can relate to. Kwan and Kai's mother is really concerned about Kai and his love life. She really wants him to find someone who understands him and loves him for who he is, because he's very closed off and doesn't like other people in his life. He likes his little bubble. He's very comfortable where he is. But Kai's mother is not having it. She really wants him to find love. Kai's mother goes to Vietnam and basically auditions all these girls to be Kai's wife. She auditions all these girls and finds none that she really likes. And then she goes into the bathroom where our next main character, Esme Tran, is cleaning the bathrooms. And Kai's mother meets Esme and is like, "You are perfect for my son." She offers to fly Esme out to the US and spend the summer trying to get Kai to fall in love. Esme has a kid and the baby daddy is not in the picture, let me just say that. Basically, Esme has her doubts about being able to seduce Kai, but Esme's mother is like, "Yes, Esme, you need to do this because this will give you a better life for your daughter," because they are extremely poor in Vietnam. But Kai does not know about this daughter. She basically has to seduce him into marrying her by the end of the summer. I didn't enjoy it as much as Heart Principle, just because I feel like I enjoyed Kai as a main character a lot. I did not enjoy Esme as much as I did Kwan as the love interest of the story. Another thing was the language barrier, which I appreciated the author making that a part of the story, because I did not speak very much Vietnamese and Esme did not speak very much English, so they did have a language barrier there, but it all worked out in the end. But I would highly recommend reading this. It was a very fun, very good romance. The 5th book I read in May was Party of Two by Jasmine Guillory, or Guillory, whatever. I rated this 2 stars. If you watched my wrap-up video the last month, which I will put somewhere either at the end of the video or now, you will know that I went on a Jasmine Guillory binge, and this month I had requested an audiobook on Libby by her, Party of Two, which I believe is the 2nd one in the series. I had requested it previously and it came in, and so I read it, but I was not expecting to like it, and I didn't really. I feel like I was just over Jasmine Guillory's writing, but I also feel like even if I hadn't been over it, I still wouldn't have liked this one in particular. It was about Olivia Monroe, which is Alexa's sister from the first book, The Wedding Date. She works at a law firm in LA, and the other main character is Senator Max Powell. Now, they meet at a bar one day. Olivia has no idea that Max is a senator. They end up clicking and end up dating, but their really main trouble would be their public relationship, how Max has to be in the eye of the public all the time, and Olivia really doesn't like being in the public eye, in a relationship, because she feels like she's judged for her body, for her looks, for her personality. And what I didn't like about this book is I feel like even when they got over their issues with being a couple, it still wasn't really resolved. Olivia was just like, "Okay, I'm fine now in the public, I'm okay with the public relationship," just out of nowhere. It wasn't really explained how she kind of got over her anxiety, and I did not like Max. He was just boring. Yeah, 2 stars. Then, oh my god, my next 5-star read of the month was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. My god, did I love this book. I can't even tell you. I read this on audio, but I bought it as soon as I finished reading it because I am still going to reread it physically because I need to annotate it. It was so good. I would like to preface this by saying I didn't like Emily Henry's other 2 books, which were People We Meet on Vacation and Beach Read. So if you're in the same boat as me, I convinced one of my friends to read this, and she was in the same boat as me, not liking Emily Henry's other 2 books. I was like, you need to read this one because it's not like her other 2 books. And so if you don't like Emily Henry's first 2, I would definitely recommend reading this. Even if you do like Emily Henry's first 2 books, I would still recommend reading this because it was so good. In this book, we follow Nora Stevens, who is a agent for a publishing company. And then our other main character is Charlie Lastra, who is an editor for a publishing company. I'm not going to tell you anything about the plot of this book, except for this is a love story about the villains in a Hallmark movie. That's all you need to know. I went into this knowing nothing, and I feel like that just made my experience better, so please go read this. It is literally so good. Also, look at the cover. 1, the book stack on the back, the spine. The spine, this is where I keep it on my bookshelf. Doesn't that just look amazing? Now for the last book I read in May. It was actually, in fact, Emily Henry's other book, Beach Read, which is why I can tell you I didn't like the other two. I read People Want Me on Vacation like a while ago. It was okay. Like, I didn't dislike it, it was just okay. And that's how I felt about Beach Read. I honestly probably rated it a little higher than I should have, but I rated it 4 stars. So Beach Read by Emily Henry is about Augustus Everett and January Andrews. Our main character really is January Andrews. Both of our main characters, Augustus and January, are authors. We see January first after her father has died, and she was given a house on a lake, and she's basically found out that her father was not who she thought he was. He had a mistress. He was cheating on her mother. Her mother knew about it. She was the only one who didn't know. He had this whole house and this whole life with this other woman that January met at the funeral. So she has inherited this house, and she has to go there and sort everything out, sell everything, get ready to sell the house, get rid of this whole other life her father had. And when she goes there, she meets Augustus Everett, which she knew from college, and they end up deciding to help each other out with their slump in writing books. They each have their own issues that's causing them to not be able to write. So they both decide, let's switch genres. And they basically have to teach each other how to write the other genre. I really did like Augustus Everett. I feel like he was way more interesting to me. I really did like his research end of the story. He was researching a cult, and I found that aspect really interesting. I don't know. I read it right after Book Lovers, and it was giving me the same energy as People We Meet on Vacation, and Book Lovers was giving me more. And so I just feel like Emily Henry really thrived with Book Lovers and didn't with Beach Read. Not that I wouldn't recommend. I do still recommend. It's a fun book. I gave it 4 stars. Obviously, it's not a bad book. It just doesn't compare to Beach Read. Those were the 7 books I read in May. I feel like this wrap-up video is way shorter than my other one. So I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what books you guys read in May down in the comments. And let me know what you guys thought of any of the books that I read. And that's all I have for you today. Go check out my other videos on my channel. Go subscribe. Follow all my socials down below. And I'll see you later.